Norma Jean Mortensen grew up with her mother, Gladys, who struggled with mental illness. On Norma Jean's 7th birthday in 1933, Gladys gave her a framed picture of a man. She told Norma Jean that he was her father. That night, a fire broke out in the Hollywood Hills. Gladys took Norma Jean with her, driving toward the fire. She told her daughter that her father lived there. However, the police stopped them and ordered Gladys to turn back. When they returned home, Gladys became angry. When Norma Jean asked about her father again, Gladys tried to drown her in the bathtub. Just as Norma Jean began to struggle, Gladys let her go. Gladys told her that her father left because he didn't want Norma Jean to be born. Terrified, Norma Jean ran to her neighbor's house. The neighbor comforted her and promised that everything would be okay. A few days later, the authorities decided that Gladys was unfit to care for Norma Jean. Gladys was sent to a mental hospital, and Norma Jean was placed in a foster home. Even though she insisted that she wasn't an orphan, Norma Jean was forced to leave her home and live with strangers. By the 1940s, Norma Jean began working as a pin-up model under the stage name, Marilyn Monroe, appearing on magazine covers and calendars. While trying to start a career in acting, she was sexually assaulted by Mr. Z, the president of a film studio. The incident deeply traumatized her. To cope with the pain, Norma Jean told herself that the assault happened to her character, Marilyn, and not to her real self. In 1950, Norma Jean auditioned for the role of Nell in Don't Bother to Knock. During the audition, she became overwhelmed, broke down, and left in tears. Despite this, the casting director was impressed with her performance and decided to give her the part. 10 years after being separated from her mother, Norma Jean visited Gladys in the mental hospital. Gladys refused to recognize her. By this time, Norma was under contract with the same studio where she believed her father had worked. Norma wanted her mother to confirm this, as she had searched the studio records but couldn't find any photo of the man Gladys claimed was her father. As Norma Jean's acting career began to take off, she met Charles, Cass, Chaplin Jr. and Edward G. Eddie Robinson Jr. She entered a polyamorous relationship with both of them. In 1953, Norma Jean achieved her breakthrough role in Niagara. However, after she was seen in public with Cass and Eddie, a studio head warned her to stop appearing with them publicly. This angered her because she felt that the persona of Marilyn Monroe was just a role she played and not her true self. Norma Jean becomes pregnant, which fills her with happiness. However, she soon grows fearful that her child might inherit her mother Gladys' mental illness. Torn by this fear, she decides to have an abortion. On the day of the appointment, she changes her mind at the last moment, but it is already too late. The loss leaves her deeply shaken. By this time, Marilyn Monroe has become a Hollywood sensation. During this period, she meets Joe DiMaggio, a retired athlete. Joe listens to her frustrations and sympathizes when she confesses her dream of leaving Hollywood to pursue more serious acting opportunities in New York City. While filming Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, Norma Jean receives a letter from a man claiming to be her father. This gives her hope and excitement. However, at the film's premiere, she feels disconnected from her performance on screen. Watching herself as Marilyn Monroe, she believes it isn't truly her. After the premiere, Norma Jean returns to her hotel room, where she has been told someone is waiting for her. Expecting to finally meet the man claiming to be her father, she instead finds Joe DiMaggio. He surprises her by asking her to marry him. Though uncertain and hesitant, Norma Jean reluctantly agrees to his proposal. Norma Jean's marriage to Joe DiMaggio begins to fall apart when Cass and Eddie give Joe some nude publicity photos of her. Joe is furious and feels humiliated. His anger boils over, and he demands that Norma Jean refuse to take part in the 7-year itch, out of principle. Despite his objections, she goes through with the filming and participates in the now famous white dress scene for a publicity stunt. When Norma Jean returns home, Joe is drunk, enraged, and physically violent toward her. The incident leaves her shaken, and shortly after, she files for divorce, ending their troubled marriage. In 1955, Norma Jean auditions for a Broadway play called Magda, written by acclaimed playwright Arthur Miller. During the read-through, her performance impresses everyone except Arthur. However, As they discuss the script, Norma Jean offers a sharp and emotional analysis of the character, pointing out that Magda seems to be illiterate. Arthur, struck by her insight into his work, softens toward her, realizing she understands his characters on a deeper level. Norma Jean and Arthur fall in love, marry, and move to Maine. There, away from Hollywood, Norma Jean experiences brief happiness. She becomes pregnant and looks forward to a peaceful life with Arthur. However, one day while walking on the beach carrying a platter of food, she trips and falls. She miscarries the baby, leaving her heartbroken. Struggling with her grief, Norma Jean decides to return to acting soon after. While filming Some Like It Hot, Norma Jean's mental and emotional state begins to deteriorate. Overwhelmed by relentless press attention and feeling as though she is being mocked, she becomes increasingly unstable. On set, she has frequent outbursts, particularly aimed at director Billy Wilder, and her relationship with Arthur Miller grows strained as they drift apart. To cope with the pressure and stress, Norma Jean begins relying heavily on pills. By 1962, Norma Jean has become dependent on drugs and alcohol. She is approached by FBI agents who take her to meet the President of the United States. In a drugged and dazed state, Norma Jean is coerced into an intimate act with him. The experience leaves her disoriented, and she begins questioning if this is the inevitable outcome of her life as Marilyn Monroe. She hallucinates undergoing another abortion, which adds to her spiraling despair, and she is sent back to her Los Angeles home. Soon after, Norma Jean receives a call from Eddie, who informs her that Cass has died. He tells her that Cass left something for her, but Norma Jean initially refuses to see it. Eddie eventually convinces her, and she receives a package in the mail. Inside, she finds a stuffed tiger plush, the same toy she had as a child. Along with the plush is a letter from Cass, where he confesses that the letters Norma Jean believed were from her father were actually written by him. This revelation devastates Norma Jean. Overcome by grief, loneliness, and her worsening mental state, she takes a fatal overdose of barbiturates. As she lies dying on her bed, she experiences a final vision, a man she believes to be her father, welcoming her to the afterlife. Thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to our channel.